From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone. It's the Wow Report. Yep, we're going to be counting down the top 10 things of the week that make us go
wow.
Wow. You know, number one is a very special guest, so you're going to want to stick around for that. But first, let me introduce my co-hosts, Tom Campbell and James St. James. Woo!
Howdy.
Blake is here too, of course. Yes, and I'm Fenton. Let's start our countdown at number 10. Tom.
Number 10.
Sunday night, I went to the Forum where I saw Queens, 4 Legends, 1 Stage, a concert that's going around the country right now that features Stephanie Mills, Gladys Knight, Patti LaBelle, and Chaka Khan. The last concert I saw was Beyonce at SoFi, which is right next door to the Forum. They're different experiences. Having been in one of 70,000 people in the SoFi and then being in the Forum feels like you're in your living room. It feels so intimate by comparison. So it was really kind of lovely. It was an incredibly enthusiastic audience of people my age, my generation, and a beautiful gathering of like Black families and people knowing every word and every moment and living for it. My friend Greg and I got there. It started at 7 on Mother's Day. We were just a tiny bit late. We weren't obnoxiously late, but the traffic and the getting there and the walking around. Well, we got there at 7:20, and Gladys was in her next to last number. So we just got 2 songs from Gladys. We got That's What Friends Are For, and then I Got to Go.
Well, so that's the one that you're there for. That's the one you need. Yeah.
I really do. Gladys, who is 81 years old, I believe, looks great, sounds great. And if I could pick one voice to listen to on an island, it would be Gladys's. So then they go into like fixing it. They roll big videotape and all the artists. And then Gladys was on for a half hour. I also think at this age, Gladys must have picked the long straw because she's like, I'm in at 7, I'm out at 7:30. Best day of my life. Then Stephanie sings. It's amazing because it's such tight sets. You know that when you hear, I never knew love like this before, you know your next to last song. You know that time is running out. And her closing was Home, which she has done.
I think of home.
And she flashes all of these videos and stills of all the beautiful Black artists that we have had loved and lost, and Luther and Teddy Pendergrass, and it was very beautiful. Where Beyonce, $1 billion experience, was like precisely shot. This felt a little bit, no offense, the screens. They had 3 screens, and it was video of the women performing, and it felt like the dress rehearsal went really well. It felt like, you know what? Now we know where she stands, because sometimes they'd be following Stephanie when she's like getting a drink. And it's like, no, you're supposed to be in the background singers now. Anyway, Stephanie has 2 sons I'm aware of. One is her backup singer. She gives him the microphone and he sings so brilliantly. Just remind you, there are so many incredible voices who aren't famous. Like, he was just soaring. He was so good. And then she has a child who's an adult who is special and has special needs, and he comes out on the stage at the beginning and the end, and it really warms your heart, and the whole family's together.
I've seen them on Tamron Hall together.
Yes, really beautiful. So that was a surprise. I didn't know that was going to happen. And then horns come out, a much bigger band, because it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for Miss Patti LaBelle, who I have seen in concert many, many times, and she's 80. And I'm going to say this with love, Patti. Patti can still sing. She can still hit all the notes. I just don't know if she wants to, because the band is playing the songs. There's medleys of hits, and Patti's kind of like, yeah. She's just having a fun time.
After all this time of peeing on stage and throwing her shoes at the crowd, she's over it. She's done it.
She's engaged. She's having time for her life
anymore.
But she's not. She just does it different. She's kind of there for the party. And when they slow down and let her sing, belts, soars, sings. Sounds like it's not there. And she does still flip her heels. But, back in the day when you saw her in the theater, I saw her at the amphitheater in the 80s, and, she would kick her shoes off into the audience and someone would catch them and she'd call them up on stage. She'd throw flowers from the thing. She did all that. But now because of security today, there's this huge safety barrier between her and the stage.
Right,
Poor Patty, 8-year-old Patty is doing everything she can to get the flowers over the barrier. Which is kind of cute. She threw off her shoes, but then she does the thing that must bring her so much joy, even though she's done it a million times. She brought up like 8 guys. She goes, I don't care if you're black or white or straight or gay. If you want to come dance with me, come on up. And they all have a moment to sing Lady Marmalade. And it's still pushes all the buttons.
Does she end with Lady Marmalade or does she end with...
She ended with it. She kind of ended with it, yes. And she had a costume change. I think Miss Patty and Miss Shaka got like 45 minutes each. I haven't read the contract.
Somewhere Over the Rainbow? Does she do On My Own?
She did On My Own with the background singer. She she has so many hits from all different eras. So
you're telling me that Chaka Khan, I'm sorry to rush you, but you're telling me that Chaka Khan is the end, it ends it? Because I would think that Patty would be the end.
I would too, and maybe they switch off. I don't know. But Shaka,
Patty had somewhere to be. Maybe she was like,
I guess. I think the earlier on,
I think they all want to just get off and go home and go to bed. Basically,
Shaka looks like she's 27. Shaka looks amazing. Shaka sounds amazing. And I said that the thing was the subtitle of the concert was 4 Legends, One Stage. Well, on Sunday at the Forum, it was 5 Legends because Shaka called from behind the stage Stevie Wonder, who just turned 75 this week.
Stop it.
And she talked about, you just realize the history. I can't cram it into the segment, but I've seen all these women perform before in different ways, and they've touched me so deeply. Shaka calls out Stevie, and she's like, Stevie, and then he's like taking a little time, and then she's like, everybody, Stevie, Stevie, and then you hear him going, shut up, I'm coming. And he comes out, and he looks amazing, and they sing us, because Shaka says that they went on tour for 2.5 years in the 70s, and I had forgotten that Stevie wrote for Shaka and they performed it together. They used to open their joint concert with it. Tell me something good. Tell me. Because it's the best song ever. It's so funky. And Shaka is soul. She's R&B, but she's something wildly unique and rock, and that song has so many funky sounds. It's like I just remember hearing it as a kid in New Hampshire, a little white kid in New Hampshire, and thinking this is the funkiest gosh darn thing I'd ever heard. And here I was hearing it live in my lifetime with Shaka Khan and Stevie Wonder.
Well, you saw the show. I mean, let's see. I think it was the 3rd date, and then there's upcoming dates: Birmingham, Nashville, Baltimore, Brooklyn, Chicago, Cincinnati, Indianapolis. Don't worry if that's not coming where you live, because there's a second leg in the fall, September and October. So check your listings.
It's a little of a mumbo jumbo gumbo, but it was worth every moment, every cent. It was a spiritual experience.
5 Legends, One Stage, told to us here by one legend, Tom Campbell. All right, James, what are you going to do for number 9?
Number 9.
I've been watching a bio series on Hulu called Cristobal Balenciaga about the legendary legend that is guru from the 40s, 50s, 60s, who basically revolutionized fashion and gave fashion, it was a new way to look at fashion. Certainly in the 1920s, Chanel sort of brought women into the 20th century and changed fashion forever and revolutionized it. But what Cristobal Balenciaga did was he showed that there were new shapes and forms and silhouettes in fashion that had never been seen before. And when he first started, the TV show shows you that he's sort of considered a pale imitation of Chanel. And then this is he came from Spain during the Spanish Civil War and moved to France. And the World's Fair in Paris in 1936, something like that, Picasso showed Guernica, the giant, the thing that revolutionized the art world. And you see him look at Guernica and his wheels start spinning in his head. And he thinks, I need to do what Picasso is doing for art and bringing the Spanish Revolution, revolutionizing fashion. And so that's when he begins to just leap off and make these incredible, jackets that look like flower buds or spaceships or exploding stars or muffins or whatever whatever the hell they look like. Frank Gehry buildings is what they are. And I don't know if they have actual archive pieces, but you get these close-ups of the actual fashions and the actual looks that just radicalized the world at the time. And it's a fascinating show. And if you don't know your Balenciaga history, it's worth it to see, because you think that like Comme des Garçons or Schiaparelli now or whatever are avant-garde, but this stuff is really will blow you away no matter what year we're in. I mean,
so who was the first in terms of fashion? Is this the pioneer of the avant-garde? Like who was, but in the chronology, who was first?
Well, definitely him. And then you have in the 60s, you have more of, the Pierre Cardin and Courrèges and all of that stuff. But this is all predating that. This is war era. This is, the 40s, in which things were getting more conservative. And he's out there just creating this radical new stuff.
And it's a miniseries. How many episodes did you say?
10 episodes, I think, and it's on Hulu. 6 or 10 or something. I don't know. I've only gotten 4 episodes, so I don't know.
You said it like Trump there. He's like 50 million, 90 million, 60 million.
Exactly. But it is the challenging thing is that it's all in Spanish and Basque and French. So there's no English in it, but it is still fascinating. And it's actors that you don't know, but it's just fascinating stuff. Just brilliant stuff.
That's on Hulu. Number 8. I know we talked about this last week, and sometimes you read something and it just sticks with you and you sort of find yourself pulled this way and pulled that way. I've ordered Barry Diller's book, Who Knew? It isn't, it's, by the way, the title is not Who Knew with a question mark, it's Who Knew without a question mark. And that was no accident, because one of the pieces says he knew that he was talented, he knew this, he knew that. So it's like, and it's like, who knew he was gay? He knew he was gay.
Everyone knew, right?
Everyone knows. So anyway, the book hasn't arrived because it comes out next week. So all we really have to go on is this extract in New York Magazine. I'm excited for the book. I don't think the extract does him any favors. Tom very articulately put the case that love who you want to love them how you do, and that's great. And it is. And in that respect, there's no criticism for Barry Diller.
But there is criticism in that he is so damn unlikable.
I reclaim my time.
I'm sorry.
It's just that the problem is the extract, the way it is written, is so snooty. I think, James, you actually had the perfect way to describe it. It's so snooty. And even though this is a coming out, the way it is framed is it's fundamentally not a coming out, because it sort of begins saying, well, I had lots of men, but the love of my life is Diane von Furstenberg. Nothing wrong with that again. But then there's not a real embrace of being gay. And it's the most sort of reluctant. It reads like the most reluctant.
He's irritated with you for wanting to know.
Absolutely, because the extract very tellingly ends with him saying, well, the most important part of my life is my family and my love. Okay, great. And then he says, and people have speculated, and the rest is just blather. He is so dismissive of everybody else's feelings and everybody else's opinions, and fundamentally of gay culture and gay men, or many, 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 many of whom he's apparently had. I mean, I'm a million miles away from the jets and the yachts, and I don't know him, but we've all heard stories of dozens of people who.
We've been hearing stories for 30 years.
Right.
I think I'm probably the only person who's actually spoken to Barry Diller, and I'd like to just recreate that conversation.
Yeah.
When I worked at Gallimore in 1987, if the receptionist was in the bathroom, you had to pick up the phone. And 2 people in LA in 1987 had cell phones. One was Sandy Gallon and one was Barry Diller. Right. And I worked with Sandy Gallon, and the phone would ring, and it'd be Gallimore Associates, and you hear Saturday, and I would go, Barry Diller on 1. I would yell so Sandy's secretary would know that it was Barry Diller and not to fuck up the call. But I got to tell you, it was something. It sounded like it was coming from hell. I'm not saying Barry Diller. It was the only. I'm telling you, there were no other cell phones other than Sandy and Barry. So like you knew it was one of them calling, and it was so scary. And he wouldn't say hello. How are you? Would you put me through to Saturday? So having had that deep relationship with him, I feel like I can really tell you who he is. Now, his reputation is not for being a warm, cuddly person.
Mm-hmm.
in business or personal.
And we certainly got that from the New York
Well,
Vulture.
the gossip is that there was another article in the New York Times in which he tells Maureen O'Donnell whatever, that he is cutting the book tour short because he hates people asking him questions about his life. It's like, dude, why write a book? I mean, like, you could have just died and left it all unsaid. Like, it's such a weird
we live
paradox.
in a world of people wanting to set the I guess it's not new, but wanting to set the record straight, wanting to humanize their adventures when it would be interesting to see the unauthorized.
I think he's in his 80s and this is legacy work for him as well, you know.
But he's too powerful for anyone to do it in his life and maybe even in his death. But wouldn't an unauthorized Barry Diller series be fascinating, or something that's kind of based on him?
Awesome. There's just a little bit of a part 2 to this that I do want to share with you, though, because I saw James at the office yesterday, and I said, have you seen this article in the New York Times Magazine, which is basically headlined up, being in the closet is back in, which is an infuriating headline. But James,
got you to click.
Exactly. I actually read the article, and I would say it's very misleadingly framed. And it's actually a very thoughtful article that recounts the history of the closet and the way people came out of the closet. It's not about a trend alert that being in the closet is back in. It's actually more focused on the Paul Rubens documentary, Pee-wee as himself, that is coming out, I think, very soon on HBO.
That's a whole other thing. You can get me started on that.
Sure. Well, we'll talk about that next week, but I definitely would recommend looking at that. And what Barry Diller has done, it's the ultimate coming out, not coming out. And it is a little late. You know, Elton John came out in the 80s and people thought that was late in his life. And that was 50 freaking years ago. So it's like, I did come up with a really good word, though. Instead of Diller-tantes, I thought this sort of closeted sphere of Diller-tantes.
I had to explain to Blake.
And I think Tom is like thinking, let's go to break.
I think we need a break so we can write this down and do some math and try to figure this out.
Diller with an R. Diller-tantes. Okay.
We'll
take a quick break. Blake, question?
With the appointment of Janine Pirro as DC's top prosecutor, how many Fox News people are now in the current administration?
We'll be right back after the break with the answer.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Reports. Fenton here with Tom and James and Blake.
Yes, and I asked this horrible question. With the appointment of Janine Pirro as DC's top prosecutor, how many people in the current administration are former anchors or whatever from Fox News?
Whoever gets closest without going over wins.
23.
666.
Ha!
I think James is right, but I'm going to say 22.
James is right. He already knew it.
I mean, literally, the whole administration has just been pilfered from Fox News. It's just,
So it's 23. Isn't that some kind of numerologically significant number? 23. I think it has not satanic associations, but
I mean, Miley has a song called 23. So there
23 is a significant number, apparently. Wow. We're counting down the top 10 things of the week. We've reached number 7.
Number 7.
In a week where the crazy news just keeps on coming, I have chosen to retreat to a CBS television special, starring Goldie and Liza together on CBS. You know, Liza was on our show, RuPaul's Drag Race, and so I posted some Liza things. Well, Liza is a steady part of my feed now, and I saw some clips of her and Goldie singing and dancing together.
yes, I know this. Yeah.
I had to tune in. And can I stop what you're doing? Click this off immediately and immediately Google Goldie and Liza together and watch the whole damn thing on YouTube, which is the number one place to watch anything.
Very quickly though, is this was Sean Cassidy came out and sang with Goldie Hawn? Is that something I remember?
No, that might be a different one. Maybe that's the one where she walks into the stairs like Sabrina Carpenter did on the Grammys.
Oh, yeah, that's what.
This
Okay,
is a very high concept. It starts off and we're in front of Goldie's house in Malibu, and there's a Jeep, one of those 1980 khaki colored Jeeps. She's running with bags. It says first day of rehearsal, 6 a.m. And she's running, and there's a song playing. She doesn't lip sync it, but it's playing as she's driving. And they have her driving and eating some toast and going down the PCH green screen. But her hair is blowing all over the place. It's all about, oh, I'm so nervous about today. And what's that Liza going to be like? And then we cut to Liza Minnelli running out with bags in front of a hotel with like concierge, and they throw her into like one of those, I don't know, 30s Dusseldorf kind of cars. They're just long. and she's
a Daddy Warbucks car.
Yes, and she's driving with the steering wheel on the other side of the car, and she's looking fantastic, and they're all just emoting as the song plays of their thoughts about, oh, I hope that Goldie doesn't upstage me. This is a crazy idea. What are we doing? And they finally arrive at television studio in CBS, in Hollywood, and their cars go whoop, and then whoop, Goldie, Liza, it's great to see you. Let's go. And there's a choreographer there, and it's like, Goldie, let me see your number. Let me see your number. They're like on a stage, and it's all kind of like scrims and lights and things like loose, like rehearsally, but fake rehearsally. And Goldie's like, no, Liza, I can't show you my number. It's not ready. Oh, please, please, please. I'd really like to see it. No, Goldie, I can't let you see my number. It's not ready. Oh, okay. And so then it starts off in the fake scenery, a little bit of Goldie, and then you see it goes in on Liza, and then you realize Liza's seeing it the way it should be. And it's full on, and it's Goldie Hawn performing and singing YMCA. Thank you. And then that's over, and Goldie's like, well, Liza, I really want to see your number. Liza's like, I couldn't possibly. It's not ready for you. And she goes, oh, come on, you saw mine. And then we see Liza's number. And oh my God, I'm blanking. And her number is something equally, Bad Girls. Beep, beep. She's a hooker, but she's a hooker like she's from
like a 20s sort of floozy.
Speakeasy. Bad Girls. Talking about, one thing after another. It's so good, it's good. I love it. and then it's like, day 3 rehearsal, and it's like, God, we've known each other since 1972. We've been talking about this special for 8 years. Yeah, we sure have, Liza. And it's like, wait a minute. Do you remember that play we always wanted to do? The whole reason they did this special was they wanted to do the movie of Chicago. Liza.
Oh, can you imagine?
The finale is All That Jazz. And Goldie's pretty good the whole time she's a dancer, but I got to tell you, for All That Jazz, she has rehearsed her buttocks off.
I was going to say, because that's the famous, the honey rag or whatever the dance is just impossible. I'm
not about his wife, but I love my life and all that. And then the last little footnote for the homosexuals listening is, at the end, Goldie's costumes designed by Bob Mackie. Liza Minnelli's costumes designed by
Halston.
And Goldie was in purple the entire time, and Liza's in red and black. And the last scene where they're saying goodbye, they're in each other's colors. That's why I watch television, people. That's why I make RuPaul's Drag Race. That's why I wake up every morning and say, thank you, God, for having made me gay. That's why.
It's sort of like in White Lotus when the two boys sleep together and then they switch shorts.
I saw that first. Liza and Goldie did it first.
They were referencing Liza and Goldie is what they were doing.
They're all referencing Liza and Goldie. Wake up.
Liza and Goldie together. You can enjoy it, experience it, immerse yourself in it on YouTube. All right, number 6, James.
Number 6.
New show on Prime that I'm addicted to. It's called Wear Whatever the Fuck You Want. And it's absolutely brilliant. It's Stacey London and Clinton Kelly, formerly of What Not to Wear. And apparently they'd been feuding for 10 years. They didn't speak to each other for 10 years, famously. But now they've gotten together again and they've decided to revisit their show. But this time, instead of What Not to Wear, they say that they are, what difference is that they're no longer in the business of judging. And they just let the guest lead the way, which I absolutely love because I loathe makeover culture. I always have. When Oprah did it, when Sally Jesse did it, I hated the fact that they would take these lovely, wonderful, eccentric people. Maybe the mother had 80s hair, or the grandmother was still dressed as a hippie, or the daughter was like a surly goth or whatever. And then they'd make them dress in like Anne Klein office. And they'd come out and they just completely steamrolled over whatever personality they had. And it's just terrible. I hate makeover shows. So this is just let them wear whatever the fuck they want. And if they're going to take them shopping, and they're going to make them more eccentric and more whatever they feel that they are.
Stacey's on QVC, so I spent a lot of time with her in my home, and I've heard the premise. I've heard them talk about it. It sounds brilliant. Did you watch an episode, and how was it?
I've watched about 3 or 4 episodes now, and I do love it. And they bring on some quirky characters, and they just let them be as nutty as they want to be. And for whatever the feud was about, they work together so well, and they really bounce off each other really well. And it's nice to see them back again. It's sort of like, I mean, I used to watch, there would be marathons, and I would watch like 20 in a row.
Well, I think the three of us are the perfect example of people that hate each other, but we're pretty good when we're working together.
What were they feuding about, and how did they get back together?
They're cagey about it. Oh, and I hate you too, Blake. Don't worry.
Yeah, I have no idea what they were feuding about, but like I said, it's a great title for a show. It just is.
I saw an interview where Clint and she with Clint and Stacey, and they said for 10 years, that's how long did the TLC show, they sat like literally side by side. They go, for 10 years. He goes, you wouldn't have a fight with somebody if you were like literally like right next to them for 10 years, day after day. So
all right, that is on James. Can you see it? Sorry,
it's Prime. On Prime.
Yeah. Okay. Number.
Do it. It'll get there. He's gonna get there.
Number 4. 5. Oh, good God.
Number 5.
Oh, number 4. Number 5. Okay, number 5. Number 5.
Do you have like just number dyslexia?
I
or something
think so. I think so.
I think I do. I
that's
don't know
part
why.
of the show. It's why
it's like when you some sort of medication you can take prior to the show to get it over with.
No, but it's like when you're gonna fuck something up, the stress piles on, and it becomes
fucked up. It's a self-perpetuating prophecy, is what happens.
All right, maybe we should just talk about number 5.
It's your inner saboteur.
Your inner saboteur.
I'm in my head. Number 5. Except you, Tom Campbell, people don't watch shows anymore. And Michael Pressman brilliantly said, I know, we watch phone. And this is very true. I spend a ridiculous amount of time on my phone, most of it scrolling through Instagram. And so I have these like obsessions of these new things. And there are 2 that I want to mention. I guess I should make 3, but there are certainly 2 I want to mention. One is, did he die yet? That's all it's called. That's the address. Did he die yet? And it's black with white big lettering. Did he die yet? Posted once a day. And so far, ever since it's been posting, it's like, nope, not yet, or he still lives. And it's just brilliant because, I don't know, it's a little sort of affirmation-y type experience you can do. It even though the news is not good, just puts a little smile on your face and you click a heart on
and think of how wonderful it would be when the answer is yes.
Right, exactly. Although I guess
natural causes, of course, natural causes.
Instagram obsession number 2, skyscraper guy. This guy bought a skyscraper and he is renovating it. And it's just really fun. I mean, I don't know what you do with a skyscraper. I guess it's like a flip kind of situation is his goal.
Do we know what city it's in, or does it even matter?
It's in Chicago. It's in Chicago. And it's a lovely old sort of deco type skyscraper. I mean, it's absolutely fabulous. I don't know what he's going to do with it, but like just very easy to scroll through.
Tom, the skyscraper guy, I bought a skyscraper. Now what? Exploring and restoring a 100-year-old tower in Chicago. Get involved. I'm fascinated. I'm going to start following him.
Yeah. And then Hidden Mall Apartment is a documentary I wasn't aware of. It's about some kids who, when a new mall was constructed, built an apartment in a sort of hidden space in the mall and lived there for a long period of time. The documentary is being independently released. It's in theaters now. Got to go see it somehow.
It was like 4 years they managed to stay in there, isn't it? Yeah.
Getting a lot of good reviews, and it's got an excellent Instagram account. And lastly, Fact Mayor. This is just a collection of random facts that keeps me busy for hours at a time. But there's one particular fact. In Switzerland, you can pay a clown to stalk someone for a week. The clown will follow them, set traps, send creepy messages, and if they get caught, smash a pie in their face.
Okay.
What can you want?
You texted that to Randy and me, and we've already had development discussions around that idea.
I love now.
So scrolling on Instagram is not a waste of time, people.
Not at all.
Now I sent to you for this morning a guy named Daniel Middle, Middel, and he is a terrible drag queen who does hula hoops to classic songs, and he is a hula hoop master, and I have spent hours watching this, and I think you guys could too. I think Daniel Middle on Instagram.
Thank you for that, Blake.
Well, I have a trivia question that I feel like is going to be right up your alley, Fenton. How many times is pop said in M's pop music? You know
Pop
the song.
music,
Pop music.
pop music.
How many times is the word pop said in that song?
We'll pop up with the answer right after the break here on the Wow Report.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Tom and James and Blake.
And I asked, how many times is pop said in M's song Pop Music? Pop, pop, pop music.
Is it going to be one of those?
Without going over wins.
All right.
Okay, again, so yeah, Price is Right rules, and I'm going to let Tom go first, so that way I can
50.
56.
666. Not going to change my answer.
It is said 132 times.
Oh,
Wow.
goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
it is a lot.
Fenton, just a little tip. Price is Right. You should have bet 1 if you thought it was less, and you should have gone 57 if you thought it was more. That was the way to win this game for you.
Well, natural born loser here. And I'm about to prove that once again as I try to announce the next number. 4. Number 4.
Number 4.
I watched this week a TV special to Joan Rivers, and it's called Fenton.
A Dead Funny All-Star Tribute.
Thank you. And it's totally worth watching. The biggest I'm a lifelong Joan Rivers lover and fan, so there's not anything really new news for me. The most shocking thing is that Joan has been gone for 10 years.
Isn't that crazy? Did you ever think there would be a world without Joan Rivers?
No. Even with QVC, which I'm obsessed by, they still sell Joan Rivers clothes, but she sort of touched every sector of pop culture in a really profound, futuristic, progressive kind of way. And so many, and this turnout was incredible. Rachel Brosnahan, who plays the marvelous
Mrs. Maisel.
Is it Maisel? She makes an appearance because, of course, her character is not exactly based on Joan, but it's inspired by. And then they had a lot of wraparounds too by Jean Smart, because in Hacks, she's playing, a version of Joan Rivers. Late Night is the theme this year, so that was kind of interesting. But it had Nikki Glaser, it had Sarah Silverman, it had, and it just laughs. And the star of the event was, you remember from her documentary, she has that room with 7,000 note cards of jokes on them.
Oh, yes.
So essentially, it was cut up a little bit differently, but it was basically just comedians who love her and worship her reading her jokes.
That's great.
Yeah, and which, by the way, it needs to be done again. I could watch like hours of that. Rita Wilson came out and pretended she was selling Joan Rivers joke cards on QVC kind of thing. It was cute. And she read them and the whole thing. But it's like that literally I think they should put them all in a box and it should be like some kind of like Cards Against Humanity, but you don't need to even fill it in. You just need to like listen to them. So it was fabulous. And they read in several occasions jokes you can't say anymore. But they mentioned that she did like eight jokes on Hitler, but 400 jokes on Elizabeth Taylor. And I have to repeat, and this is a tribute to Joan Rivers, who I had the opportunity to meet a couple of times, as many people did. And with all forgiveness, I think Elizabeth Taylor actually laughed at them eventually, and I didn't meet Elizabeth Taylor, but I lived in summer of '83. I worked at a dinner boat in Sunapee, New Hampshire. It was the last summer I lived in New Hampshire. I didn't come to LA, came to LA in '84, and we used to listen to her album, What Becomes a Semi-Legend. And I know every word of it, or I did, and we would listen to it. We worked in the morning to clean the boat, and then we worked at night to serve people and go out in the boat. And in the middle of the day, we'd just listen to Joan Rivers' album, and she would say, "Do you think she's beautiful, Elizabeth Taylor? Do you think she's beautiful? Do you think my husband Edgar thinks she's beautiful? Do you think she's beautiful? Because I think she's a fat pig." And the audience goes crazy. And it was the beginning of this new, what Kathy Griffin went with so many people. But Joan Rivers just ripped the face off of like proper society and what you're supposed to say. And like, in like George Carlin or Don Rickles, but like the first woman.
All right, going to move on now to number 3.
Number 3.
There have been some new rules implemented for the Cannes red carpet, and I just want to say very quickly that it's about goddamn time. The new rules are that there are no naked dresses, no nude illusions or anything like that, no nipples or butt cracks on the red carpet, and no more voluminous gowns or long trains. And I have got to say, thank God for that, Tom. I know that under this rule, Diana Ross would be out. She would not be able to do it.
No, but if you're gonna put that rule in, put it in after Diana Ross. Let Diana Ross happen, and then
after Diana, yes. Yeah, because what happens with these voluminous trains is that it takes 10 assistants to set it up. To get it flowing just right. And then it takes 10 assistants to carry it slowly up the stairs. And then they have to arrange it again, going down, cascading down the stairs. And then they turn and they pose. And it turns into stunts. They're just stunting. They're just drag queens doing stunts. And it gets so annoying for the 200 people behind them who have to get in as well and have to be photographed. It stops everything. It turns it into a trickle. Halle Berry was just on E decrying this new rule, saying that she had a dress that she wasn't allowed to wear now. And what was she going to do? Because they didn't tell anybody until the day before. So all of a sudden, all these stars are running to their stylists, and the stylists are freaking out because they had just one gown planned, and it was a big voluminous with a big train and everything like that.
Well, I have two solutions. Yeah. One, always travel with pasties and a merkin. And two, if it's a voluminous gown, scissors, chop, chop, chop.
Chop, 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 exactly.
I never thought you'd be in favor of people covering up. I thought that would be, yeah.
I'm a Drag Race producer, so I want everything to be themed. I think it should have been pants this year.
All right, number 2.
Number 2.
M13. Do you know what M13 is?
Well, it's the Venezuelan gang, for Christ's sake. It's also a punk rock band.
Well, right. There you go.
It's a firecracker.
No, it's a reference to May the 13th, this week. And this has been coming. M13 has been coming. It's not, James, an invasion of people from outer space or some kind of conspiracy theory. It is basically the relaunch of Airbnb. Airbnb is really launching as the Airbnb of anything, because till this point, Airbnb has been extraordinarily successful renting out. You can rent out people's homes, and I've done it. Have you done Airbnbs?
I hate Airbnb with a white hot passion. They make you do the dishes and vacuum. How dare they? This is my vacation.
Brian Chesky is the founder. He's like, I think he's like in his early 40s. And had this lingering idea that Airbnb alone was not sufficient and that there was some other dimension to it. He's kind of besties with Obama. and talked through his vision for what Airbnb could be with Obama. They had late night calls. And in fact, Obama, I don't believe when he was president, but I do believe he went from the White House to Hawaii and he stayed in an Airbnb.
And what was the kickback he got from that, by God?
Well, he didn't get a 400 million palace in the sky, for sure.
That we know of.
But he did have to do the dishes.
And not only that, but then you get rated on how you left the like. Just let me go to a hotel. I don't need to cook. I don't need to clean.
But now I do think maybe there's something in it for you, James. Because next time you're on vacation,
World of Wonder hasn't let me be on a vacation in 6 years, so I don't know what that plans on happening.
That's right. Always on a vacation.
You can be in a hotel now, and you can Airbnb an experience. You can Airbnb a tour of Notre Dame with the architect who helped restore the cathedral, or you can Airbnb a matcha tasting with a tea farmer, or in Mexico City, Airbnb yourself into the ring with a lucha libre wrestler. So it's the Airbnb experiences and massages.
There's a fun feature on Airbnb where you can get like the spaceship house, and there's like the kooky houses that you can do, and the tree houses and things like that. It's not just sort of.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see how it turns out, but there's quite a lot of noise and buzz about it, and that's Airbnb. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, reveal the number one thing this week that made us go, wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. It's Fenton here with James and Blake. We've been counting down the top 10 things of the week that make us go wow, but now it's time to reveal our number one. And James, I'm going to let you do the honors.
Number one.
Well, we have a very exciting guest today. I'm so happy to see him again. The legendary legend that is Dan Mathews, who most of us remember from his days at PETA when he was senior vice president and the things that he did, the I'd rather be nude than wear fur campaign, throwing red paint at fur coats, disrupting fashion shows. But now Dan is with Save the Chimps organization. And Dan, how are we saving the chimps? What is happening?
Well, I'm with Save the Chimps now. I've been there for a little over 3 years, but I've been working with them in various ways since they first opened 25 years ago. Back in the 80s and 90s, they started mass producing chimps because they thought they would be the magic key to find a cure for hepatitis and HIV. And it didn't work out so well. And then all of a sudden, the government had hundreds and hundreds, a few thousand chimps and other primates on their hands that weren't of use. Chimps can live into their 60s. So in the 80s and 90s, PETA and myself lobbied to get chimps out of labs. And finally, in the year 2000, President Clinton signed the Chimp Act, saying they aren't, if they're not of use, they should not be confined in government lab basements. So the founder of Save the Chimps, John Stryker, and primatologist Carol Noon, they sued for custody of the chimps that were owned by the Air Force. I think it was about 22. And when they went to pick up the 22 chimps to bring to the sanctuary in Florida, they found hundreds more chimps that were in the same complex, also not being used and also wallowing with in isolation, no sunshine. They're in cages, some of them wild caught in Africa in the 60s and still with treated like this. So they took a deep breath and decided they would buy out the whole of this Colston laboratory and start. The New York Times called it the Great Chimp Migration, which started in 2001, 2002. And we now have always between 200 and 300 chimps at the sanctuary, mostly survivors of laboratories like the NYU Primate Lab, which closed down among controversy in the 90s. But also we have an increasing number of chimps that are discarded from show business. Alan Cumming is one of our ambassadors, and he has helped us speak out, and he helps PETA speak out against the use of chimps in entertainment. When you see a chimp in a movie, it's invariably an infant chimp. They're taken from their mothers, made reliant on human trainers, and then forced to perform. But when they reach sexual maturity at age 6 or 7, they are too strong to be controlled, and so they're often discarded either to roadside food. Yeah, exactly. And if anybody who saw HBO's Chimp Crazy last year can attest, That whole 4-part, very moving docuseries concludes at our sanctuary where Tonka the chimp finally finds a life of freedom. The sanctuary is 150 acres in the middle of Nowheresville, Fort Pierce. It's about an hour, let me see, in gay directions, 90 minutes north of Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
Which I always refer to as Estee Lauderdale. But anyways, we have 12 4-acre islands. Each island consists of about 15 or 20 chimps. Jane Goodall, who helped us devise the place, she's on our advisory council, did it because water is a natural barrier for chimps. They will not go in it. So we can have 12 chimp communities who can talk to each other across the islands, but not be threatened by each other. And we're very unique for that. And so, you know, as chimps can live in their 60s, it's a real big responsibility. Thus, our first fundraiser in LA, which Angelica Houston just hosted, and helped raise over $150,000 for the sanctuary. Moby was there, Brian Fuller was there, Diane Warren, my favorite foul-mouthed love song writer, was there. Vivian Lyra Blair, who plays Princess Leia opposite Ewan McGregor in the recent Star Wars reboot, came. It was a really eclectic crowd. One of the members of Black Sabbath was there. And I think you guys are aligned with me. You don't want to party with all the same people. I love it when it's of all ages, all sexualities, all niches. And that party really had it in spades, with, of course, Oscar legend Angelica being the keynote speaker. It was a real thrill.
We had lunch prior to that, and we were talking about your work with PETA and some of the things that you did. And you were talking about your theory of disruption and how to protest in a way that is effective, and how people today probably don't know these techniques. And so can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you were doing right all of those years?
Well, sure. I mean, and I came about it through an evolution myself, having grown up in the hardcore early LA punk scene. I was, you know, all grimace, fist in the air, you know, sarcastic about all of pop culture and all of, you know, very distrustful of anything that was left over from the hippie era, and, you know, modern style kid. And I got into animal rights in high school and had that attitude. And at that point in time, animal rights was really a little old lady concern. It was, you know, not much of a buzz. Nobody really knew the term animal rights. And so being a pop culture junkie myself, born at the, you know, or coming of age in the MTV generation and being gay, and, you know, realizing that Fashion Week was something we could seize and use for our advances every year to get publicity for the cause. I just felt like in anything that you're protesting, you win more people over if you have a smile than if you have a grimace. It's really basic sociology. And I learned it by accident, because we would have protests, you know, about the animal suffering, holding up signs and all that stuff. And then when we did the very first Rather Go Naked Than Wear Fur protest, which was just me and my friend Julia, we went to Japan, where there was an international fur convention with all the furriers there. And we thought, what can we do to get attention for the animals' plight in the fur trade with just 2 people in the biggest media market in the world? And on the plane on the way over, we decided, why don't we pretend we're an American stripper couple? We'll go outside the fur fair, we'll get really dressed up, and then take off our clothes and have a banner that says, we'd rather go naked than wear fur, in Japanese in the front and in English in the back. Well, we got to Japan, we asked the Japanese groups to help us, and they were shocked, mortified, said it would bring absolute shame on the movement, and begged us not to do it. And as we left the meeting, these troubled teens that were volunteers for the Japanese group said, this is the best thing ever. We will help you on the sly. We'll paint the banners. We'll give you, you know, help you contact the media. So it was kind of like a Little Rascals episode, where these troubled teens are helping this weird American couple pretending to be strippers. And I really pimped Julia out. I false eyelashes, push-up bra, and brought her to the media rooms. And she walked around and leaned over the desk and said, would you like to cover? We're going to be naked for the animals. And went around. By the time we had even left one of these news bureaus, they collared us at the door and did a story. and the entire media brigade from Tokyo came out. It ended up being on CNN. And Julie and I thought, oh my God, we can't just stand here with the sign. We've got to march. There needs to be motion. So we started marching through central Tokyo with the banners and with a big smile on our face. We'd rather go naked than wear fur. And I think it was that we were declaring something about ourselves. We weren't targeting somebody else. Shame on you, shame on this. We were just saying we'd rather go naked than wear fur. There were so many police that came and so much press, and that we were left on our own for our own devices. And they halted us from entering the fur fair, but not by the time it was on CNN, Fuji TV, Asahi TV. My dad in LA heard it on KNX, CBS Radio News, and we couldn't believe it. And it was really, I think, the nudity was, of course, the sensational aspect, but I think what really, we ended up doing countless TV shows, radio shows. Dateline NBC ended up following me around the world because we started doing these naked protests everywhere. Not just me and Julia, anyone could do it. Groups from all over the world started embracing this tabloid era tactic. And we went from having scant coverage of our issue to having them lining up, asking when they could, do interviews. And it was a real lesson to me that even when we're doing things like disrupting runways, things like that, style is always so important. And I know when we were disrupting Gianfranco Ferre's fur fashion show in Milan, I thought, okay, we can either go in and just take over the runway with signs, or we can do it with a little bit more style. And I had a black priest outfit in my closet that I had left over from a fetish ball I had recently been to.
As one does.
Well, the fetish ball said, you must dress in the dress code, you must dress in black of an authority figure. And I knew that all the queens were going to be bikers, police officers. And I thought, I'm going to be the only priest there. So luckily I had that. I wore that to Milan, and I got fake reading glasses I lived in Italy, and so I speak Italian. I was able to talk my way into the fashion show, pretending to be the designer's parish priest. And when I got up onto the runway, very gracefully, I unfurled my sign, which said, "Thou shalt not kill," with the anti-fur logo on it. And I just very serenely, calmly took over the runway. The models clogged up behind me. The press were going nuts. And finally, the security guards tackled me to the ground and started carrying me out. And all the little Italian ladies in the front row started hitting the security guards with their program, saying, "Leave the priest alone." And I could not break character. I still had to have the serene look of a priest while being carried down the runway. And by the time I was even released from the police, it was all over the international news. They didn't know whether I was a real priest or not. But it just told me we could have had 20 people disrupt the fashion show and with no style, and it wouldn't have got this kind of attention one person would if they just had a gimmick, some style, something to make people laugh. And I think laughter is the key.
Yeah.
Whenever you can inject humor into things. That's why, my first book, Committed, chronicles a lot of these misadventures I had around the world with people like Elvira and Lady Bunny and Pamela Anderson. Delight hosted PETA's first big event in New York, the Fur is a Drag fashion show. So in my realm, I've always liked to keep one foot in the animal protection, animal rights world, and one foot in the pop culture world to see how you can mix and match these things to create campaigns that people actually want to see rather than want to look away from.
Where can people become engaged and participate in the Chimp campaign, number one? And I guess number two was like, we got to have you back. I think what you say about engagement is it's actually challenging for all of us, even making content, is how in a world of massive amounts of content being made,
Right.
do you get people's attention and win them over? And you're right, it's humor. I think nakedness helps, actually.
Sex and humor, the two top things, sex and humor.
Yeah, everything. But tell us where we can.
So
engage.
Save the Chimps. We are located in Fort Pierce. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. SaveTheChimps.org. We have over 200 incredible chimps. They're dynamic. About 20 of the chimps like to paint abstracts, and they've done collaborative collections with the B-52s and Joaquin Phoenix and Rooney Mara to raise funds for the sanctuary. You can find the chimp art at Save the Chimps. You can also symbolically adopt a chimp. We have the most incredible new 8-year-old chimp who we just got a few months ago. He was kept as a pet in a backyard. And when he arrived at the sanctuary, he had never even met another chimpanzee before. And it's incredible all this spring to see him coming into himself and learning how to speak chimp and talking to Tuffy, who's in the next enclosure over. And at some point, he'll acclimate to being around chimps and have his own island paradise. And we're only open for events about 4 times a year. But please, you can join at any level and you get on our mailing list and come down and see me as well. I'm the one that hosts our events down there, and we'd love to see you. Chimps are so resilient that's what humans have to learn from them. Is they arrive with a form of PTSD from being used in labs for 20 years or isolated, and the other chimps help them out of their stupor. They're really, really incredibly caring for each other, and the chimps themselves are very resilient. And to see them have 20 years of misery and now they have 20 or 30 years of happiness on one of our islands is just so heartwarming.
Thank you. That's all we got time for today on the Wow Report. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, James. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Tom.
And thank all of you too.
Oh, you know. Same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go wow.